A vague disclaimer is no one's friend. This podcast will look at episodes in relation to Buffy and Angel as a whole, and therefore contains spoilers for the entirety of both series. If you haven't seen all of Buffy the Vampire Slayer and Angel the series, go and watch them before you listen to this. Remember, you've been warned.
The hardest thing in this world is to live in it.
That's why there's us, champions. We live as though the world were as it should be, to show it what it can be.
The Earth is definitely doomed.
It's Tuesday, so it must be time to return to the Hellmouth. We're going through the Buffyverse episode by episode, and a look back at Joss Whedon's iconic shows. I'm Emcee, and I'm here with...
Yo, it's Andie.
It's David.
Hey, it's Jan.
Today we're talking about I Only Have Eyes for You, which is episode 19 of season 2. It was written by Marty Noxon and directed by James Whitmore Jr., and it originally aired April 28th, 1998.
Can we talk about the major elephant in the room in this episode? Just right off the top.
Sure.
The flashbacks take place in 1955. The Flamingos didn't release I Only Have Eyes for You until 1959.
Okay.
Thank you.
To be fair, actually, the version of the biggest problem is the version of the song that they use in the show. I Only Have Eyes for You was a romantic jazz standard going back to the 30s.
Oh,
yes.
for sure. I've heard many people do it.
This is the version that they play in the episode as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Yes.
Yeah. That is the biggest problem. See, when you said the elephant in the room, mine was just like, where is Oz?
That too.
Oh, well, yeah. Well, and also the statutory rape, which is a huge elephant
Well,
in the room
yes,
that
we'll be getting into
but
that.
the big one, I'm like, right, because it's the Flamingos recording they're using, which is very...
Yes.
And they could have just gotten around that by, like, making the episode happen in 1959 instead of 1955, but...
Yeah, I mean, it's
God
not like it
knows.
was an anniversary or anything.
Yeah, there's no specific reason. It's like they arbitrarily made it 55 to make it a while back. And,
and maybe they made the prop before they chose the song or something.
Yeah,
Maybe.
I love the Flamingos version of I Only Have Eyes for You. It is...
Oh, it's
just such a gorgeous recording with that great doo-wop underneath it. Like, it really is the perfect song to use. It's just like, hey, continuity. Diana, Virgin Goddess, I Only Have Eyes for You, comes out in 1959.
So essentially, this is down to their usual standard.
Right, exactly.
Can we blame this on shooty I-beam magic at all?
The internet wasn't quite as sophisticated as these days. You still could have found out what year that song came out and fairly easily, especially working in the entertainment industry.
Yeah, no, they could they could have
sure.
found out.
Yeah, I would assume they would have had to have had that information before they actually got the song, but whatever.
It's probably on the freaking cover of the damn album on the back. I mean, it's not exactly... Anyway, so that's my big... That's my nit of all the picks.
Okay.
Which everybody else
personally, I have like a weird... My brain kept editing it to the Art Garfunkel version, which was from the 70s, even though... It was, which was even harder because I love the Flamingos version, but for some reason, every time they'd say something, my brain would start playing the Art Garfunkel version. So.
Which is a gorgeous version, by the way.
It is. That's the first version I think I ever heard back in the day when I was a small
My
child.
mom calls this the Shoo Up Shabop song.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
She doesn't know the name. She just calls it the Shoo Up Shabop, much like she calls Stand By Me the Shh song. Because of the güero they're using on the da-da-da, shh. Da-da-da. She's like, it's that song that goes shoosh. So that's the
cute.
Shoo Up Shabop, and that one's the shoosh. My mom is really cool. She's like way better than Joyce, just FYI.
Yeah, well, I should warn you. I should warn you before we go ahead. I'm going to have a lot of nitpicks.
Okay.
That's
okay. So we start out this episode at the Bronze, and and Buffy is being all mopey because her boyfriend just like went evil and stuff, and like a steel trap with you tapping your head, common phrase of mine. I'm always doing that, but I think my brain is a better steel trap than Buffy's.
Yeah,
probably.
I think so. And also, just a weird aside, the guy who was Ben looked a lot like a friend of mine from high school. So that was kind of freaking me out.
We're going to see Angie Hart, the singer of Splendid, again in season 7. And she'll actually write an original song. She and Josh write that song together?
Yes. The band is Splendid, and it is a duo of Angie Hart and her husband. And they appear a couple of times. They appear in The Freshman as well.
Which one is he?
I don't know.
You don't know what instrument he's on?
No, I didn't go that far.
Because there are 2 other
Yeah,
people.
they do have
They're-
like more of a backup band, but Splendid is...
Okay, no, it's not that important.
And boy, was that dress 90s.
Oh my God, it was gorgeously 90s with the 2 colors with the sheer and then the exposed bra. Yeah.
Yep. I was just like, wow, that's really, that's 90s. 90s fashion.
I like it.
I don't know if I do or not, but it just was like very indicative of the time period. It just kind of like flashed at me like, okay.
Jesse Tobias played the guitar, so he's one of the guitarists there.
Okay. Well, also, thing that'll be of interest to almost nobody but me, he is playing a Fender Starcaster.
Ooh, nice.
Which
I
is
didn't notice
not
that.
a common guitar, and at this point had been out of production for about 15, 16 years.
Oh.
So I'm not
Nifty.
sure why he's playing it. I mean, it's a perfectly
Probably
good guitar,
because
but
it's his.
Maybe that's his and he likes
I'm
it.
assuming it's his. But yeah, I mean, like, that's not something you come across that often. So
People become very attached to their guitars. So.
Oh yeah.
Anyways, as I was going to say, Angie Hart and I think her husband also appear in The Freshman in Conversations with Dead People. And she did write the song Blue with Joss Whedon for Conversations with Dead People. Okay. She also appears on Firefly in the episode Heart of Gold. She plays one of the
Ladies of the
prostitutes. No, not Ladies of the Night. They're hookers in Heart of Gold.
They're hookers.
And she's the one who sang. And she also sang back up on Under Your Spell for Once More with Feeling, which her husband helped write some of the songs for. So
Okay.
She's obviously a friend of Joss's.
yes.
Yeah.
So Splendid appeared more, I mean, with the exception of Nerf Herder, obviously, because they're the opening song. They're the band that appears the most.
Well, that's I really like her voice.
Yes.
I mean, it's really got that 90s Lilith Fair sort of vibe to the song and what they do, but I really I need to listen to more of their stuff because I enjoy her voice a lot. And that dress was epically 90s and I fucking loved it. And Buffy's gold pleather pants.
Yes.
I couldn't figure
Very
out
much
what
so.
material they were made out of, but yeah,
They look like
them.
pleather. And I was thinking I had a pair of like sort of silver gray ones at that point.
I
in
had
time,
red
so
pleather
yeah.
pants, so yeah.
She's wearing like pleather pants and a fuzzy shirt.
I think everybody's wearing a fuzzy shirt in this episode.
Now, Buffy has they will costume her in either pleather or leather pants a lot.
Yeah.
That same cut and style, which I had pleather pants in the 90s, but mine were more low-rise. Hers are always a little higher because she has a different body type and looks good in, like, everything.
Question about the set dressing in the bronze.
Sure.
Why is there a spinning book rack there?
Because why not?
Well, and why does
Because
it have one?
Academia?
And why does
Academia?
no? It's got one of the Destroyer novels in it. I mean,
Well, I mean, like, the bronze is always, like, up until, like, Buffy and the gangs are able to drink, they play it off as more of a coffee bar / teen hangout, and so maybe, like, the spinning book rack is more part of, like, the coffee bar type thing. It's like, here, take a book and read it, and be,
here, have a decade-old trashy adventure novel.
Well, that's what ends up in coffee house free bookshops.
I guess,
It
yeah.
is. It's
Yeah.
like that. The coffee house that I like to go to, which is now closed. They were really good. Yeah, they had a rack of books, and it was like, take one, bring it back, leave one. They had that all over the place. Can we talk about the guy that asked her out?
Yeah, I said he looked like my high school friend. So.
But, like, here's my note. Everybody look. A dude who asks someone out and takes no for an answer and doesn't push or anything. Hey, Xander,
Yeah.
you looking at us? Hey, Joss, you looking at this?
he just kind of
'Cause-
and
disappears.
we never see him again,
And that's
do we?
fine. But I was just like, wait, someone that doesn't get all obsessive and doesn't take no for an answer, that's uncommon in the Buffyverse.
Yeah.
Gentlemen, that is how you do it, actually.
Yeah.
They say no, you go, thanks for your time.
I did actually find it weirdly amusing that it's supposed to be a Sadie Hawkins dance, and he's asking. So a guy is asking her to ask him out
Yeah.
or
Yes.
something. It was just like, okay, fine, that logic, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
It was amusing.
It's logic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's clear to me that Willow is fully committed to Oz because only somebody
yeah.
in a relationship would be that hardcore about her friend hooking up with somebody.
Speaking of people not taking no for an answer, it's like Willow is really pushy here about, but maybe you just need to, and she's like, no, I don't want to. She's like, well, maybe you just need to, and Buffy's like, Buffy gives a very clear answer to her about why she doesn't want to go on dates and why she doesn't want to be in a relationship, and Willow, I mean, eventually takes no, but does still push a little bit, and I didn't really like that.
I wrote that off as like as Emcee just said. It's like what there's always like a partner relationship, especially people who haven't been in relationships much before, where they're like so in love with love that everybody needs to be in love, and everybody needs to feel the way I do, and everybody needs to hook up. And I think that's where Willow's head is, because she's so in love with Oz and just the concept of being in love that she thinks that's the answer to everything.
Even though he doesn't show up.
Right, exactly. It's annoying as hell, but it's just like that's a thing.
There's a Joe Jackson song about this.
Yes. They make it look so easy.
Yeah, they do.
Until the time that I'm still dancing with a partner.
There was a couple websites, or one website that says, I have big fun. I do remember that from the 90s, from Buffy's line. I have big fun. Yeah. I don't remember what it was about. I'm sure it was a GeoCities site, but just for some 90s fandom trivia at the time, I have big fun was a Buffy website.
But Buffy decides to go see Giles and then sack it for the night.
Oh, does she say she's going to see Giles?
Yeah, I thought that's why she goes to the school.
Well, that's what. Because I have a note saying it's like, why did she go to the school? Maybe I missed that.
I think she mentioned that she was going to check in with Giles and then go home.
Mm-hmm.
I just assume every time she goes to the school after school hours, she's there to hang out with Giles.
Why is Giles there that late?
Because he has no life.
because we need to set up the episode.
Well, okay, fine, yeah. It's always
I
comes
don't know,
down to
because
that.
there are more books there and he doesn't have to carry them back and forth.
See, I've never understood why Giles had to keep his collection at the library.
Yeah.
It was safer. He could do big spells. I don't know.
It's right over the Hellmouth? I don't know.
Yeah.
We get Buffy going to school and the first of uncomfortableness.
Yeah.
It's I mean, I get it, but it's uncomfortable.
Well, I mean, I think part of it's supposed to be uncomfortable.
Yeah, no, I mean, I get that. But also, I mean, part of it also ties to the ending about mostly I'm uncomfortable with the ending. Yeah, I like this episode a lot, but there's a lot of stuff in it where I'm cringing while watching it. And the repeated scene is one of them that is just
I mean, this episode is very Marty Nuxon.
Yeah,
she is the queen of emotional pain. And I love Marty, and I know people got down on her so much when she was basically the showrunner for the last 2 seasons, but I genuinely like her because she does tap into less of a plotty, this is what happens, and more of emotions. But here it's really, I used to love this episode. This was in my top 5 for many, many years, especially when I thought, oh, I'm 22 and love is doomed, and oh, I totally get what you're feeling, Buffy. And as I'm older, I'm now like, oh my God, get over your 16-year-old selves. But it's a little more uncomfortable for me, I think.
Yeah. This episode actually is in Joss's top 10.
That doesn't surprise me.
His unnumbered top 10 list.
Well, and then this is also the one where he decided that David could carry his own show.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, I personally, I mean, I think like I said, I try to watch it and I had to watch it 3 times because I kept just disconnecting from it. And I just was more the get over your 16-year-old self and, teenage angst pain, and it never quite grabbed me. So I'm obviously in the minority here, which is okay.
Well,
I don't hate it. I just didn't. It's not one that I would want to watch. I totally forgot it existed.
Yeah.
So.
There's some great acting in it, though. There's some really great.
Yeah, and I really, really love the vamp scenes. I think Drusilla and Spike and Angel are great together.
Yeah. I think both David and Sarah did a just knocked this episode out of the park. So I think a lot of it is in terms of their acting that I really like. But I mean, there's a lot of flaws in this and a lot of stuff where it's like, for some reason in 1998, it was like really big to have young men sleep with their teachers on the WB.
Oh my God. It's right. Cause Pacey on Dawson's Creek was sleeping with Tamara. Yeah, I know that. I know what was happening on Dawson's Creek in 1998. Okay.
No, I'm saying like this was probably going on like almost the exact same time because remember Dawson's Creek like just was
it premiered
after
Innocence.
Innocence, yeah.
I'm just looking up something because I'm wondering about like
now
cultural things at the time.
We do get. But and at the same place, obviously no one deserves to die, and I'm totally not going to victim blame the teacher that gets shot. But a lot of it is played for this like grand romance and how much she loved him and how much she. And I'm like, dude, you were sleeping with your student.
Yeah. Maybe we should. Do we want to talk about that a bit?
We'll talk about that as we.
Yeah.
We also have some like very like different like not famous but like really well known actors in this. That'll show up in other places.
I just as an aside, the thing I was just looking up, that was around the same time as the Mary Kay Letourneau thing. Yeah, I was just looking because she was actually convicted in 1999, so I'm wondering if that was why this whole like teacher, whether that like prompted some of these like storylines of young men sleeping with their teachers.
Yeah, no, because I mean, like if she was convicted in 1999, then she was probably caught in 1998. And the Mary Kay Letourneau thing was, I mean, it's 20 years later, and I can still name her, and I actually know what her name is now. She's Mary Kay Falau now because she married the kid she fucked.
Yeah,
exactly. That's why I was looking it up because I had a feeling that there was some like cultural touchstone, and there you are.
Well, I mean, and this is before we sort of, I mean, obviously the Mary Kay Letourneau thing kind of turned the tide on how we thought about female teachers and their male students.
Yeah.
But it was still this sort of romanticized, oh, if it was a girl, that was the worst thing ever. But if it's a boy, why wouldn't he want to be with this beautiful Meredith Salinger looking, I mean, because Meredith Salinger is gorgeous. Yeah. The actress that plays Miss whatever her name is, she's gorgeous.
Yeah, and honestly, I mean, just talking about that, when I was in high school, I had a chemistry teacher who was a divorcee, and she would flirt with the 17-year-old boys in my class, and everybody thought, like, it was disturbing if you were, like, a 17-year-old girl, but apparently nobody thought this was a bad thing, as she was, like, being really lewd and, like, really out there in our class, so.
So, So, anyway, well, I mean, we'll get into that a little bit more, but,
Yeah. So we do get the one teacher that it is okay to be hot for, and that is Willow, teaching the computer class. And I'm wondering how the hell Willow is doing Jenny's presumably full-time job and also her own course load.
Because...
Well, I think because she's making most of it up. I do not buy for a second that Jenny's lesson plan included information grouping and binary coding.
Well, also, point... of order,
I also suspect
Jenny's computer was destroyed.
Well, yeah, that too. I also suspect that what Willow's joke about coding is gibberish, and I have no idea why the class all laughs at it, because even if it does make sense, they don't know anything about it. It's like that scene is just like, sorry, I'm being the tech guy again.
It's okay.
It's fine. It's like when we start getting to the Wicca stuff, I will be screaming my bloody head.
Oh, good.
It's not Wicca. It's shooty eyeball magic.
Exactly. Yeah. But anyway,
right.
But the other thing is just from a teacher, public education point of view, they would not be having some 16-year-old girl teaching a class full time without even like somebody sitting there like monitoring her. If they said, okay, well, we'll give you some kind of like college credit and, student teacher, blah, blah, blah. It's just the whole thing makes me crazy.
And I mean, like, Giles offers to help her, and she's like, no, I'm okay doing it. And it's like,
yeah,
the
I'm
school
not
board
surprised
would not accept this.
The school didn't stick Giles in there just to have it over.
Right.
Like, okay, so I taught a drama class in high school. I went to an alternative school, and kids were asking for it, and we had a drama club. So what we did is we coded it as an English class. We had the teacher in there. He taught a bunch of other stuff, too, about the literature of plays, and then when we got up to do scene work, he'd have me and, my boyfriend at the time, like talk about like acting method, which we knew a lot about, but he was in the room. It was like a co-thing.
Right.
And it wasn't them going like, oh yeah, he's out for the day. We're just going to leave you alone in a classroom with a bunch of kids.
Yeah, that like I said, that part drives me crazy because it would never happen. You don't even have that when somebody comes from college and is doing student teaching. You still have somebody monitoring what they're doing, and keeping track of stuff. So.
And we get Willow's start of darkness because we hear her.
Yep.
I've been researching stuff that Jenny had, and here's this rose quartz crystal, which is, oh my god, that breaks my heart.
It didn't look like rose quartz to start with. It looked, I don't know, it looked like plain quartz to me.
Well,
so
yeah.
Kind of like irked me. And also rose quartz is usually more for love and attracting love. I don't know about the healing part.
Because we know the writers are so great at research.
Exactly.
But I wrote that exact same note, Emcee. It was like, and there it goes. Paganism and magic. She is really sweet to give Giles the rose quartz, though. I don't think that's about that was like, I found something
that was
that
sweet.
I really...
It was heartbreaking.
Yeah, that was a kind
she's
thing for
really
her, too.
sweet and empathetic and in tune with Giles in this episode. Like a lot. With Willow is a lot. And I actually have always really sort of regretted that they never tackled Willow's grief and all this. Like, I can see Buffy is angry, and you see in this episode where she doesn't believe in the forgiveness and how she's processing that. And Xander is Xander. But, like, Willow knew her. She's taken over her class. She obviously admired her and was interested in her paganism, things like that. And that doesn't get explored. And I keep even a scene would have done it.
Yeah, let's admit it. Willow is interested in computers. She's interested in Wicca. And she had a crush on Giles. She wanted to be Jenny.
Right.
Or do Jenny.
Perfectly.
And that's okay, too.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I mean, I Willow is really... kind, and the looks that Allie gives at Tony are just, she's breaking your heart while he's breaking your heart. Where poor broken Giles, my poor baby, I just want to hold him to my chest and tell him it's all going to be okay.
You want to do that all the time, though.
Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much.
Speaking of, having a crush on people, back in the day, I had such a huge crush on Christopher Gorham, who plays James in this.
That makes sense to me.
He was hot.
He was hot.
What else was he in? Because I know the name.
He was in Jake 2.0. He was on Ugly Betty.
Okay.
Yeah, he was.
Okay, now I know why I know him, because a mutual friend of ours was a big Jake 2.0 fan.
Yeah.
It was going on and on about him. So, yeah, okay.
Yeah, I remember him from.
That makes sense.
It was one of those things where I'm like, oh. When I was rewatching this episode a couple of years later, I was like, oh my god, it's the guy from Ugly Betty. Because I loved Ugly Betty. Yes, he was very hot.
Yeah, he was also unpopular, which I believe was maybe the next year or so, because he was one of those WB
that showed up in all
actors.
the WB shows.
Yeah,
like Jensen Ackles from Supernatural.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I thought he was super cute back in the day, and so I just thought I would mention that because I owe it to 15-year-old me.
No, that is
good-looking guy.
That was a total my type. That is still my tall, skinny, dark hair, broody. Yeah, that right there. Yeah, so the Willow and Giles, I found it very moving.
And Buffy has her dream or flashback or connection, and we see the first flashback of James and Grace together. And this is, it's like, I have uncomfortable written so many times because looking at it through a 2018 lens, it's like, no, this is creepy.
So wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's so many different levels of wrong in this episode, starting with the fact that we have a teacher who's just flat out sleeping with her student and she's the victim in all of this.
Right.
Again, I'm not going to victim blame for stuff like, getting shot. That is not appropriate in any universe. But, she's the victim. She's the one that has to give the forgiveness. From a now lens, it's really,
Yeah. I do think I'm going to make a Sunnydale High shirt that says something weird is going on as the school motto.
School motto, yeah.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah. And I will give them credit in just like a tiny little bit of credit in terms of research. They named James as a poltergeist, and poltergeists usually center around one person rather than a location. And for the most part, with the exception of when the janitor shoots the teacher, Buffy is always involved with the hauntings that are happening. So it's definitely focused on Buffy rather than the location. So I found that to be interesting.
Yeah.
Because I looked up poltergeist phenomenon. Yeah. Well, because there's a lot of different... Some people think poltergeists aren't ghosts, but, just psychic phenomenon.
I'm not even going to get into that.
And we don't see a lot of ghosts on Buffy at all. We don't. I mean, we get flashbacks and people in the first...
And where the wild things... And where the wild things are,
we have it, but it's not like a common occurrence. But
it tends to be more demons than ghosts.
Yeah, and actually, hauntings. Where the wild things are is probably more of like your parapsychology poltergeist, because it's the repressed energy of adolescence, which is what kind of the parapsychology view of poltergeist is now.
All right.
And. Yeah, no, not a whole lot of ghosts. And of course, once we go over onto Angel, we do get Phantom Dennis. So
I love Phantom Dennis. He's like my favorite.
I love Phantom Dennis too.
So yeah, I mean,
I think that this whole incident with Grace and James is proof that Sunnydale's really blasé about death. Because even 50 years later, a student killing a teacher at the school would be like infamous, like urban legend,
right? Yeah, that's
they're blasé about a lot of things.
Well, yeah.
I have a question that they don't address, and of course, I'm just interested, and there is no answer because they don't address it. It's like, so when the gun disappears after the janitor shoots the teacher,
does the bullet disappear?
Yes.
Good question.
Well, I mean, the bullet could disappear, and then the teacher would still die because the thing is,
that's the thing.
That makes no sense.
Right, but they don't address that issue, and I'm curious because that's the way I think.
Because I mean, well, I don't know if it would really matter because Snyder and the chief of police are like covering things up.
Yeah,
right. And is this the first mention of the mayor?
Yes.
It is the first mention of the mayor. It's not the first time we've found out that Snyder knows about things, and because in School Heart he talked to the police chief about things.
But this is the first time he says Hellmouth.
Yeah, it's the first time that the mayor is mentioned, and the first time that Snyder says the Hellmouth. And I think actually it's the only time Snyder says Hellmouth.
That's true.
Because I think they kind of, once we got to season 3, kind of reconsidered Snyder's part in all of it. They made him a little more unwitting.
Stupid.
Yeah, they did a little more unwitting. Yeah. I mean, I always think Snyder knows. Oh, and great! It's always great to see Armin Shimmerman. Hey, Armin.
Yes,
we love you.
Of course, we love you. Yes,
I adore him.
Yeah, I mean, I think maybe, but he's obviously scared of the mayor. Even then, they're like, "Do we have to talk to the mayor?" And he's like, "Nope, nope, nope." And I wonder if they already knew that they were going to do that. Mayor is the villain. I'm pretty sure.
I think so, probably.
Well, I think even if they didn't know exactly what was going on, obviously I think they were seeding it.
There's a lot of foreshadowing and seeding in this episode with Willow, with that.
Probably at this point in the season, like they did write Becoming to possibly be a series finale, but by this point they were probably secure enough in the ratings that it's like, okay, do you know what? We're probably going to get a season 3, so we're going to...
Well, and it's not ham-handed. It's not like if this had been the last season of Buffy, people weren't going to go, oh, well, you dropped that thread about the mayor. Like, it's such a toss-off line that...
Yeah, it's just sort of
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a seed, but it wasn't something that was so glaringly obvious that it wasn't a hanging thread.
Yeah.
Oh, I was going to talk about the janitor. So that's John Hawkes. Do you guys know who John Hawkes is?
I don't know.
Name sounds familiar.
He's been nominated for an Academy Award.
That's probably why.
He was nominated for an Academy Award for Winter's Bone.
Okay.
With Jennifer Lawrence. He's like one of the best character actors out there, which totally, I think, I mean, Buffy and Angel playing their thing is playing their thing. But the way he plays because the first couple is very over the top and you can't do this to me and I love John Hawkes. I find him to be such an amazing actor. And like really, really cute. So I thought that their dialogue and the way that's done was really more sensitively done and more realistic in its tone than probably even Buffy and Angel. It was just an acting note that even young John Hawkes, before he's done anything of note yet, is still just so right. Look, he's in The Sessions, he's in Winter's Bone. Go watch one of his movies. He's fabulous.
Okay, cool.
Okay.
This is the first appearance of the mansion.
Mm-hmm.
The vampire mansion. I believe I read that it was actually designed by Frank Lloyd Wright.
It is. It's the
cool.
Ennis House in LA. And it's designed like Frank Lloyd Wright. It was also used in Blade Runner.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
It's been used in a bunch of stuff. But Blade Runner is probably the most notable of those.
And we get the first mention of Jasmine being night blooming from Angel. Jasmine is Angel's favorite flower. I'm sure it's not anymore.
True that.
And can I just go on about how awesome? I mean, she's always awesome, but Juliet Landau just killed me. It just, as soon as she was just everything, every word out of her mouth, all the body language, everything.
Oh, I love it when she does her little dances. I've talked about this before. It starts with and she's just.
Yeah, she just I was like, I love you, Drew. I love you, Drew. I love you, Drew.
Yeah, and again, we were talking about how Angel, last episode, we were talking about Angel knows how to go for the jugular on people. And of course he goes straight for Spike's, major. As much as Spike likes to think he's a badass, and he is in a way. It's not like he hasn't killed people. He's so sensitive.
Yeah, no, he really is.
Yeah, and Angelus knows exactly what buttons to push.
Well, and the button's always going to be Drusilla.
And they're all on Drusilla.
Because Spike always loved Drusilla more than Drusilla loved Spike. I'm not saying that Drusilla did not love Spike, and they have such an interesting relationship.
Drusilla's always had no problem with dropping Spike whenever she got bored.
Yeah.
Because she did that with Angelus, she did that with the Immortal, she later does that with the demon with the antlers, the Chaos Demon.
I love the
And then she does it with the Gak Demon. Yeah, she's always dumping Spike for whatever reason.
Well, yeah, so Spike's the boyfriend that you can always come back to. Or the partner, I'm sorry, it's not just boyfriend. It's they'll always take me back. They,
Yeah.
That's the dynamic there, I think.
Interesting. I'd never thought of this, but this is actually basically the same relationship that the Enchantress and the Executioner have in Thor in Marvel Comics, which is kind of tangential, but that's exactly the the Enchantress well, not so much because they don't have I don't know how much they have an explicit relationship in that respect. But they always work together, and the Executioner's always around. I think they do, actually. They have a thing going on, but she just dumps him all the time.
Yeah. And
just goes, oh, Heimdall, I'm going to go hang out with you now. And the Executioner is just like, huh? And, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that is exactly what... Yeah, she'll wander off to whatever's shiny. And again, I'm sure, they're vampires.
Exactly.
Their commitment level is not exactly. I think here's my analogy. I think that Drew's the one that really wants negotiated polyamory, and Spike's not having it, so she just goes off and does it anyway, which is totally not healthy and bad.
Yeah,
bad and unhealthy dynamic. But they're vampires, so who has a healthy dynamic?
and also on top of that, it's she just when she's bored and there's nobody else, she can go back to Spike because he's the old reliable.
Yeah.
And he'll always take her back too. He never says no, and so that's part of it. Also, that it's a very unhealthy relationship in general because of that.
I do have a
exactly
question.
Mm-hmm.
Do they cancel the Sadie Hawkins dance because of everything that's been going on? Because in the opening scene, the guy comes up to Buffy and asks her to ask him to the Sadie Hawkins dance, which is supposed to be the day after.
Was it at the Bronze, maybe?
Good
Because a lot
question.
of their dances are at the Bronze.
Possibly.
I mean, they've had other dances at the Bronze.
Yeah, I'm going to go with no, they don't cancel it because Sunnydale.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just wondering, like, because, like, they make a big deal out of the Sadie Hawkins dance, but it affects nothing, and it's obviously not at the school. So, it's like, okay, that was a thing.
Yeah, I mean, Marcy kidnapped Cordelia to the Bronze for that one dance that, you know what I mean, you're talking about in season 1, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was the May Queen
dance.
The
May Queen dance was at the Bronze, and they had the Valentine's Day stuff at the Bronze, so I don't know when they do it in the gym and when they do it in the Bronze. I have no idea what this damn...
Apparently, it's only prom that takes place at the school, because that shows class.
Oh, yeah.
Homecoming's at the school, but, too.
No, it's at the Bronze.
Is it? Because I thought they show up... okay, whatever.
I mean, for what it's worth, the 1955 Sadie Hawkins dance was at the school.
Yeah.
Which makes sense, yeah.
So when they're actually trying to figure out what to do about these poltergeists, Xander's line, nuke the school. Foreshadowing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and this brings me to my continuing pet peeve from season 1, which we haven't seen lately, but Willow refers to exorcism as the final solution. Are we sure she's Jewish?
Yeah, it's always
seriously. No, I mean, really.
Yeah.
This is like seriously tone deaf
It
writing.
Really
here.
is. It always is.
I mean, even if she wasn't Jewish.
Yes.
But I mean, that she is Jewish. It's like, no, you don't know. That's just crazy.
It is crazy.
You don't use that phrase just off the cuff like that. It's no.
Bad Marty, no cookie.
No cookie for
Yeah,
you.
basically.
I do some of Xander's, because I was complaining 3 episodes ago, one of those episodes ago, about how Xander's dialogue was so biting and so sarcastic.
Yeah. Yes.
He does.
I believe it was passion.
It was passion, and it was just, In this episode, his stuff is, he's sass and not sarcasm in this episode. Yeah. He also has one of my favorite lines. She's like, well, what do you know? Okay, what do we know? That dog spit is cleaner than human spit.
Yes.
Cracks me up every time. Marty gets dark. She gets super emotional. She likes to whoomp on all her people. But man, she gets their individual voices so well. And Xander is pretty okay in this episode.
And when we actually get to the school for the exorcism, I mean, there's not much that I can say about it. I mean, I think they do a good job of making it seem pretty scary, and just Willow's sad Jenny could never be this mean. It just breaks my heart.
I do have a problem with when they get to the school. As far as I can tell, that's not what a scapula is. Scapula is not the term for that thing.
Yeah.
Well, what is the term for that thing?
I have no idea, but it's not scapula, because scapula is something totally different. A scapula is a thing in, I believe, the Catholic Church. It's some kind of, it's a pendant, but it's not like a sack of like herbs and sulfur.
It's shooty eye beam magic.
You were saying scapula, like the muscle bony thing.
That's scapula.
Yeah,
scapula. That's what they called it. Yeah.
That's how they spelled it in the subtitles, by the way, with an A at the end.
No, I'm sorry. Scapular is the Catholic thing. Yeah. Scapula is your
it's a Catholic Anglican thing. I know tons of people who wear them quite frequently, and I remember having to ask about them when I was a kid, because a bunch of kids in my class, and I was like, "What is that exactly?"
Yeah, no. According to they do it. It's scapula, and that's why the spatula joke.
Right. No, I've also made the spatula joke many times.
Yeah, but
there is another name for it, and I'm blanking on what it should be right now because my brain just hurts. So,
but as far as I could find out, I mean, I didn't do an exhaustive search, but I did look, and it's like, nope, no indication that scapula would have anything to do with that.
It doesn't.
Again, research.
I mean, it comes across it. They can be a whole bunch of different things. They can be crosses. They can be saints. I know.
Right. Basically, they said we want to do a spatula joke,
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, for sure.
It's shooty eye beam magic.
Shooty eye beam magic.
Right.
I mean, it's basically just a protection charm in a bag. Like, you wouldn't...
Yeah, that's almost like, is it a Wonga bag? I think is the word. It's like something that they use in Voodoo where you put that kind of stuff in.
Yeah, and they used to do that on, like, Supernatural, like, really early on. Like, they'd have, like, anti-possession, like, warding.
But they did
before
that
they got
before
the
they got the
tattoos.
tattoos, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, those kind of charms are things I've seen in things, but they're not called scapulas.
Yeah.
No,
they're not. And again...
Come on, Willow, you're a research girl.
I have...
Yes, but this is, like, her first time trying anything magical.
Right, she's also...
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I live in a very Catholic community, and I know what those are, and they're not what... They usually have a saint. Everybody I know that wears them has their personal saint or their family saint on them.
Yeah, and the word that I was looking for is I'm probably pronouncing it wrong, but it's Ouanga, Ouanga or Ounga, and it's usually more like Voodoo related, where it's a little bag with like herbs and charms and roots and other stuff for protection or other things. So yeah, or charm bag is another, like a conjure bag, medicine bag.
I found this an interesting episode in that, this is one of the few episodes where Buffy's Slayer powers has, like, no impact on the plot, like, whatsoever. Like, except for knocking down that door. Like, Buffy does not use, like, Slayer strength, like, at all.
Which is actually a cool thing that, she's out of her comfort zone for a change.
Well, it's all about the emotional impact.
Right, yeah, there's nothing she can actually just go and beat the crap out of to win the day. So.
We talked about it really briefly, but I want to just... Yeah, Willow's Jenny could never be this mean. Because I also think this episode is very much a journey for Giles. Like, he was killing me. And him and Willow's stuff is really... It's very sweet. And it's... Willow's is being her best Willow in all this. Because she's sort of letting him have these ideas and not sort of poke at him. But at the same time knows when it's time to just really... One of my favorite parts of this episode, even though I hate to see my Giles in pain, is Tony's very subtle, again, performance.
It's Giles letting go of Jenny, finally.
No, I mean, not even... I mean, he's gonna have grief over this but yeah, it's him realizing he can't bring her back or see her again in a supernatural way.
Well, yeah, exactly.
Because he really wants it to be her, because he wants to see her, even as a poltergeist.
Probably the crux of this episode is when James has possessed Buffy, and then Angel comes into it and is possessed by Grace, which, plot twist that, they're breaking gender stereotypes.
We just play out Buffy and Angel's whole relationship in the same dialogue, which is, that's like the one neat bit.
Yeah.
So.
No, I mean, they did definitely set up all of the parallels so that it would work. And as Andie mentioned earlier, that it was this episode with David playing Grace that convinced Joss that Angel could carry his own show, and that's what saved Angel's life, because they were fully gonna kill him off in Becoming, but once they decided that they wanted to do an Angel show, they're like, "Oh, I guess we got to bring him back in season 3." So
David and Sarah are just so good in that scene, and the parallels not. The problematic parallels as well, which I don't know if the writers are going for, but looking at it from the lens of today, it's a way older dude sleeping with a 17-year-old girl. We've talked about this. So it's basically two people that have committed, statutory sexual assault on teenagers.
Yeah, I mean, like, we can, at this point, get more, because we get the full scene between Grace and James, and then we also get into the resolution between them, so I think we can really get into, like, the deep problematic crux of this episode, and that's, the fact that everything is based off of the statutory rape, and then after that you get this, violent situation between two lovers. And why the fuck did James have a gun in the first place if, like, he didn't intend to hurt her?
I wondered about that.
People do irrational things, and teenagers' brains aren't fully formed until they're like 22 or 23 anyway. So I don't know, because they needed a gun.
And plot device, because we needed to have somebody die in order to bring them back and do the whole thing. So
I am annoyed that the people who get shot keep falling off that
which
damn
is totally
balcony,
like a lot. Like the way she falls off that
the way it is shot makes no sense.
Well, that wall is too high for you to go back up off that wall and over once you're shot. You would stumble in it just physically impossible.
And it's even more clear when the janitor shoots the teacher, because she is clearly she gets shot and she starts collapsing just straight down. And then all of a sudden there's a shot of her tumbling off the balcony.
The laws of physics are not.
And it's like it doesn't work at all.
I mean, it's a dramatic image of them laying there dead, but it does.
Right, but it's right. I mean, I'm not saying they shouldn't have had them fall off the balcony. I'm saying they shot and edited it badly.
Yeah, it looks badly every time.
And then Grace comes back to James in Angelus's body, because Angelus can survive being shot, and she forgives him for everything and basically says that she shouldn't have broken up with him because she never stopped loving him, and
ew, and more ew.
And I get that, forgiving somebody is an act of compassion and everything, but she basically apologizes to him for breaking up with him because she loved him so much. And it's like, he shot you.
Ew.
He shot you. He brought a gun to intimidate you.
And on top of that, she was like the mature adult who said, wait, I can't have an affair with my student because it's illegal and it's just immoral. It's a bad thing.
After having already done it.
After already having
done
it.
Yeah, but at least she's like saying, okay, we can't do this anymore. We have to cut it off, instead of just being there and happily ever after.
Yeah, I mean, thematically, it is. It's Buffy needs to hear, Buffy herself, not just Buffy as James, needs to hear forgiveness, because Buffy is often a black and white thinker. Like, Buffy has, I mean, she can see some nuance, but a lot, and especially in these first couple seasons, it's very black and white, and she's so angry at James, saying, well, he killed her, he did the thing, there's no forgiveness for that, because she's talking about herself, obviously. We all know that. That's not exactly
right.
Not exactly a metaphor. It's just sort of a therefore. So, I mean, I get the forgiveness needs to be Buffy hearing it so she can start to forgive. Because she's also blaming herself for Jenny, too.
Of course, it is really a false equivalency, because what Buffy did was an accident. What James did, he might not have intended to pull the trigger, but he brought a gun.
Yeah.
He brought a loaded gun.
When you say what Buffy did was an accident, what do you mean?
In, Angel's soul going away.
Yeah.
But you see, I think that's not what she mostly blames herself for. I think she has been blaming herself that she wasn't able to kill Angel once his soul went away.
But see, she always keeps it centered on Angel. It's always when she's talking about James, she's like, she destroyed the person she loved in a fit of passion. So it's entirely talking about the moment that she and Angel had sex together. And it's also brought up at the beginning of this episode when she's like, you remember the last time I was impulsive and I slept with my boyfriend and now he's dead, or now he's gone. So,
yeah, they do bring that back. But for the last several episodes, she's really been going on about how her actions after that have caused people to die.
Okay. I mean, I do think that contributes, but I think it's mostly focused on the fact that what is her fault is the fact that Angel is no longer Angel. And you notice that when the chance comes to give Angel his soul back, that's what she wants to try first, rather than killing him. So,
which, 17-year-old girl, if she, if this is a 7th season, she probably would have made a much different decision, than she would in season 2.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, come season 7, she would have let Dawn die. So, and Dawn was innocent.
Yeah, for sure. So, yeah, I mean, it is a false equivalency, I think, and that's the problem in the writing.
Yeah, I think that's what bugged me about it, is that it feels like things are being shoehorned that can't be shoehorned because they're not the same, and that's why I was saying about it. Just started to get to me in terms of the big overall person pain, sad romance, blah blah blah. When you look at the actual things going on here, and it's like, no, this is kind of gross.
But Sarah and David are freaking spectacular, as usual.
They're brilliant together.
And we talked about this in Passion, about how good everybody was. And man, Sarah breaks. I know Ellie's big eyes are supposed to break everybody's heart, and they do a little bit. But Sarah is the one that always gets to me because just
she gets that glassy eye,
and behind her, it's just like she goes there. And Sarah's really good at this one thing, and she's really good when she has a strong directorial sort of put. You know what I mean? She can be not as good. She's always good, but like, you know what I mean? Like, but she's really, and she has such a mastery of this character, and what. You know, she can do with it. It just, she's so good. And David is so good.
David's great.
Speaking of David, the Angel's reaction when, at the end of that scene, when the kiss breaks off and she says Angel, and he just goes, bleh! And jumps back. To me, like, I just think that's so brilliant. Like, for people who don't think that David, you know, is that good an actor or whatever, that he's like masterful there. He's just, that reaction is,
I mean, there are times when I've watched these and I'm like, I get, actors take work that they can get, and if they can get on a long running show that's going to last, and you know, like Bones, but I really want David to stop doing these like heroic freaking, I want him to go do something super evil again. Because he's really good at it. Because he's great at it. Mm-hmm. Like, I want him to be the villain on something instead of, like, heroic Navy SEAL. Or, I mean, his character on Bones was snarkier, but he was still heroic.
Yeah, because it's just the fact that he's so, like, grossed out by the fact that he was kissing her. Like, but it's beautiful because you've got this, like, big romantic, the swelling of the music and everything else. And then all of a sudden it's like, he's totally rejecting it. It's like a punch in the face, and it works so well. And it's funny as hell, too.
He must have gotten a really good acting coach between season 1 and season 2. Like, a really good acting coach.
No, he's phenomenal here.
In that moment when Buffy says Angel, she absolutely hopes that somehow Angel has gotten his soul back.
For sure.
Yeah.
But at the same time, there's nothing Angelus hates more than Angel's humanity.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Right. As we hear in the next scene.
Again, like last episode, we were talking about last episode, how all those characters were working really well together. Again, they were, the Scoobies were firing on all cylinders again. Cordelia was doing her thing. She came to the school. She was scared, but she did it anyway. Xander is being Xander and not problematic Xander, just good, supportive, making jokes about dogs now Xander. Willow is really empathetic towards Giles, does research, you know. So again, it's just one of those ones where the Scoobies are really, they're gelling and they're a family and less of a team. So I just wanted to point that out.
So the vampires are like the opposite in that they're sort of this wonderfully dysfunctional, and we all hate each other.
They're fracturing at this point, and it's all because of it's all because of Drusilla. James is so great in the last scene, snarking at Angel, and then Angel snarking back at him. And I just have to say, back in the day when I was first watching this episode, when Spike starts to like stand up from that chair, jumping up off my couch, just screaming because, oh my god, something's gonna happen.
Oh, I remember the same thing. I don't know if I jumped up, but I was like, oh, it's going down. Oh, he's back.
I think the only time I've had that sort of reaction is in, I guess it would probably be 2 to Go when Giles shows up.
Yeah.
At the very end.
Yeah.
And in the end of Walking Dead, I believe season 2, when Michonne shows up for the first time.
There have been a couple times on the same kind of just like jumping up, surprised, like whoa.
Yeah, that time where it's just like you've got to jump up and just scream because, oh my god, I can't believe this happened.
Yeah, it's a great moment. It's great, and it's just like the Spike I like is back.
And you just see the wheels turning, and if you don't know what's going to happen next, it's like, oh my god, where is this going? Something is.
And then it's so disappointing because the next episode's Go Fish, and there's no...
Yeah, Buffy, I mean, I think they're still learning. Again, we've talked about how this is one of those very first really serialized shows that had these myth arcs and not, you know, and I think other shows have learned from this. But there are still shows that do this. They have this big, massive moment. Not a cliffhanger, but sort of that, like, almost cliffhanger, and then the next episode has freaking nothing resolved about that, and you have to wait 2 more you know what I mean? I'm like, you would think you would address Supernatural happened last week. Even
Supernatural's the worst at it.
They are. They're like, Cass is gonna do this giant thing, and then we've got a one-off episode, even if it's a funny one-off. actually happened last week on Supernatural.
Yeah. In their partial defense, sometimes there are production reasons for this.
No, for sure.
Yeah.
Like a script doesn't come through, and they need
Or
to
an
just
actor
put
is
something
not
in, so they
available to
have,
do the next one.
or an actor's not, or whatever.
Or they're spending, they're like they're double banking, and they have to get like the big finale stuff, so they need to throw
that's
something
true.
in
A lot
while
of
they're
that'll
still
happen.
filming.
Is there?
Whatever the big story points are
Right.
coming up. So
I mean,
like, have some filler.
Yeah, the major example is, like the end of season 4 of Babylon 5, where they all of a sudden it's like, oh, we don't have another season, we have to wrap everything up now.
Yeah, that definitely happens with.
Yeah, and then suddenly you get season 5.
And then they got season 5, and it's
we
like,
shot our load.
we...
Now we're screwed because we have no story.
What do we do now? And
Yeah, I mean, it definitely happens on 22 episode regular season shows. You don't see this phenomenon happening nearly as much, and the way series are going now, shorter 13 episode seasons.
Yeah.
You've got
That's
the
more
British model, which is coming
because
over more towards this way too, like limited.
Yeah.
The British model / the Netflix
Netflix model.
The-
Right, and also the HBO, Showtime, premium cable. Because you got a shorter season, and also you're writing your entire season in advance and then shooting it rather than doing it as you're going along. And
because you do have to fill
serialized
22 to 24 episodes a season, so it's a
It's
lot.
a lot.
And that a lot of shows aren't doing that kind of I mean, unless you're your CSIs and your SVUs and those procedural stuff are still doing it. But yeah, the very
and those are dying. Those are dying badly.
they are, because I mean they still get huge ratings compared to other things, but in comparison to what they were,
look at NCIS.
But just look at how many of them are still on. Not many of them are still on.
Yeah, I mean, you got your NCIS,
A
you
lot
got
of
your
them.
CSI, you've got your SVU.
CSI's gone, isn't it?
Oh, CSI's
CSI's
gone? Is there a CSI on the air somewhere? Oh,
I don't think so.
know. Like, I
think we're done.
There's still some Law and Order show on, though. I mean, I don't watch
The
SVU is still on.
Yeah. And there's 3 NCIs still running, so yeah.
Yeah.
So they're still kind of doing it, and they have
but
story
they're very
arcs sorta,
small.
kinda, too,
It's
but...
little moments at the beginning or the end of an episode that sort of ties in together, so it doesn't matter. So yeah, it is hard to do the serialized storytelling without... Supernatural is the only one that's doing that serialized storytelling in a genre basis in 22 or 23 episodes anymore.
And a lot of people would be saying that Supernatural doesn't do too
well.
well.
You know what? It doesn't,
Right.
but I just can't seem to quit it. I quit it, and then I came back.
That'll be our next podcast.
Oh my god, that would take 400 years.
It's something like Doctor Who. I mean, even there, you've got you did have 13 episodes, and you were still getting filler in there for the same reasons.
Doctor Who's
because
filler...
production
I know
issues.
we're on a tangent, listeners, but Doctor Who filler is different filler.
Yeah.
Because you've got your...
Yeah, but you still have a one-off, or something gets swapped because suddenly, we can't
There's
have...
definitely things like it.
I mean, that happened during season 6, where something that should have been towards the end got thrown into... the other way around. It was something that was supposed to be the 3rd episode in, got thrown to the 9th
that
episode,
does still happen.
and totally screwed up the whole storyline because production-wise, and they suddenly said, oh, wait, we need something in a different location. We can't have yet another, claustrophobic, blah, 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 blah. So sometimes it happens.
Yeah. Long-form storytelling is difficult. It can be. It's very difficult.
Yeah.
So I do admire them for that, and it gets a little oh, God, what are you guys doing? But then also realizing the production demands and the demands on the actors and the writers and the set builders and the costume design that, every now and then I'm like, all right.
And sometimes those one-off episodes aren't go fish. So, sometimes you get something good.
Okay, well, we'll talk about that next week. For now, any final thoughts on I Only Have Eyes for You?
Meredith Salinger's so freaking pretty, I can't even handle it.
She's
Did you never watch Journey of Natty Gann? She's Natty Gann. She's also married to Patton Oswalt. Trivia fact. Yeah.
Oh, right.
So there's your little celebrity marriage trivia for the day. That the teacher in this is now married to Patton Oswalt. No, I mean I used to love this episode a lot. Now I'm just like, maybe not as much.
I think, honestly, we've talked about this before, that there are some episodes that are not good for us, the Return to the Hellmouth hosts, to do. And I think this is one of them. I think this is an episode that's okay if you're just watching it. But if you're actually like analyzing it at all, then it starts to fall apart.
Yeah. Don't think about this.
Yeah.
Or else you're gonna go, yeah,
Which is it's really fun that we keep on having these episodes where it's like, maybe it would be a better idea if we didn't watch this episode, like, in this format. But
this is our format.
The format that we chose. And whose fault is that? It's mine. I'm aware of that.
Okay.
I wasn't going to say anything, but you know.
Hey,
I blame all of us.
Well, yeah, you guys all did volunteer. Like, I didn't twist your arm. Some trivia facts. At the first airing of this episode, Sarah Michelle Gellar did a voiceover on the dangers of teenage suicide. I remember that too, but did not do a voiceover about the dangers of fucking your teachers. Sorry.
The more you know, kids.
This episode is mentioned twice more, I believe. Once is in Faith, Hope, and Mr. Trick. Willow talks about being sucked into a portal in the hallway. And it's also mentioned in Waiting in the Wings on Angel, when Angel says that he's been possessed by ghostly lovers before, and it never goes well. Which, that's another episode that has ghosts in it.
But it's not on Buffy, it's on Angel. It's in the same verse, but it's not.
But it's on Angel, yeah. Anyway, so, yeah. I only have eyes for you.
Yeah, and we didn't have, we already mentioned the music used, so, which were the Flamingos and Splendid.
The music is Splendid did Charge at the Bronze. They did the Flamingos did I Only Have Eyes for You when James is going to kill himself. And Christoph Beck did Love is Forever.
I love Christoph. We don't talk about Christoph enough. We really should, because he's...
We don't.
He's
we
really,
talk more
really
about
brilliant.
Christoph.
We'll get... So the stuff from Becoming is freaking gorgeous, so we'll make sure we add that into our notes to talk about Christoph.
At the very least, let's just say everybody get the Buffy the Vampire Slayer album. Like, not the, music that was on Buffy, but the actual, like, sound, like, the score.
It is. Yeah, Christoph Beck. Incredible. Incredible work.
So, I think that brings us to the end of this episode, unless you guys have anything else to say.
No.
Okay, so next time we'll be reviewing Go Fish.
Lucky us.
Until then, grr, arg.
Grr, arg.
Grr, arg.
Grr, arg.
We'd like to thank everyone who downloaded the podcast, and an extra special thanks to everyone who shared, liked, and subscribed on social media. If you'd like your questions or comments read on the show, you can contact us on our website, returntothehellmouth.com, on YouTube at Return to the Hellmouth, on Tumblr and Facebook at Return to the Hellmouth, on Twitter at HellmouthReturn, or on email at returntothehellmouth@gmail.com. We'll be sure to read your comments on the show. Be sure to rate our show at iTunes and Stitcher, and check out our show merchandise on TeePublic and Redbubble. See you on Tuesday for Go Fish.
Grr, arg.